You've had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo or honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're a real heat seeker out there, you can try spicy ghost pepper only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. Listen, I'm going to dare you to do it. I dare you. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs that you already love. Pick a flavor. Grab some extra napkins and then grab a few more napkins and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Okay, so where's your reaction go from this game on, like, did this team turn a corner, and is the team gonna, beat Syracuse, beat Stanford, and have a shot at 8 wins here, or are you thinking that, the same team, give or take, I don't think you can discount the Tobias Merriweather edition and Keon Gray's, like, those are big additions to this football team that we haven't had. Mm-hmm. But I would love to get your thoughts on sort of if you think that this game and maybe the last 2 games, so Oregon State and and then now we have this Wake Forest game, was this a turning point to sort of set up a bigger end for the rest of the season?
I think the monkey's off their back now. Like the whole, like, the looming thing of, like, you haven't won a single ACC game, that's now gone. The thing we were talking about earlier, like that whole thing of, like, you can't keep a lead late in games and you always seem to blow them. I think that thing's gone. I think they're playing a lot more loose now. And I think Fernando's come into a place where he's comfortable with what he's asked to do. And you saw it, in this game where he threw, was it like 30 or 40 times in the first half? Because they needed him to, and he did it exceptionally well. And the weapons that he has around them are nice. Like, it's clear that they're nice. Like Jonathan Brady operating in space, I think is so perfect for his body type and his skill set. Not the streaker that's down the sidelines, but, like, Tobias isn't even fully healthy yet. It didn't look like Tobias or Keon were, like, full goes. I think they had limited snap counts. But, like, Tobias in the slot, like, a couple of his passes or his catches too, it's like he's in the slot. There is no linebacker that has the speed to cover him, and there's no slot corner that has the size to cover him. So, like, you see him just run like an 8 to 10 yard, curl, and he just sits, like, if it's a zone, he just sits between 2 zones, and you throw it a little bit high to him, and he jumps up and grabs it. And, like, his frame is so big. He's just such a versatile weapon. And, like, they had to start to key in on him. Like, I think that's why they went to him so early, that they forced Wake Forest to key in on him. And then that opened up the space for Mikey and for Jonathan Brady. And they're so elusive when they're in the open field with the ball. And so, like, and then, a couple of plays probably end up being like 25, 30-yard gains. But, like, the same issue that we had with the O-line play, it's the same play that you alluded to during the NC State game, right? Where it's like a little screen pass to Endries, but then the O-line, like, totally misses the tackles. That happened on a Mikey Matthews play. I don't know if you saw it, but it's Mikey Matthews. I think it was like a screen pass to him, like a little tunnel screen. 2 offensive linemen are ahead of him against 1 defender, and the 1 defender splits the offensive line and tackles Mikey, and Mikey gets up and he screams at the offensive lineman, like, just yells at them. And so there's moments like that where you see the scheme, where where the scheme's going to work, and you have the personnel to make the scheme work. It's just the production at every single spot has to match and be on par. The offensive line just hasn't gotten there yet, but hopefully we get to see a little bit of that, or a little bit more, like, I don't know, a sprinkle of hope that that's what the offensive line could be going into next year. But for now, like, just having even those weapons back, like, it looks like we've turned the corner. And it's a big what if now for the rest of the season, for, like, what if we had those guys earlier in the year?
I'm not in what if territory yet.
Yeah. It's a couple. I mean,
wanna
we still
get
have
6
three more
wins.
games. Get to 6
If we
wins
get
first.
6 wins, then we
Get to
can do
6
the
wins
what if
first.
game.
Yeah.
I just want to be bowl eligible, and then we can say, ah,
Yeah. I think you
What
got to get to
if?
6, and then you got to get to 7, and then 8 can be the toss up. I think once you get to 6, then you're like, okay, a little bit of sigh relief. I think once you get to 7, it's like okay, then it really was just maybe some issues. And then if we happen to beat SMU in Dallas to end the season 8-4, then you're like, yeah, this is going to be your big what if season because of us finishing the season 5-1 in our final 6 games, despite how much easier the schedule got.
yeah. So at this point, what I'm hearing is this is a different team than the one that we saw 3 weeks ago.
I think so. I think this team has turned a corner, and I think we see this every week. But honestly, after seeing how they played against Wake Forest and how they played against Oregon State, and then against the 4 games before that, I think against Syracuse at home will be a big moment for them. If they can come out a little bit more confident because they have the ACC win off, and the last home game they played against Oregon State, they blew them out. It kind of feels like the start of a new season. You played a lower tier school. You got a road win, and then you're going into these last 3 stretches.
Meu nome é Cairo Santos e eu sou o kicker e único brasileiro jogando na NFL. Cada chute, cada jarda conquistada, cada passo me levou para mais perto dos meus sonhos. Agora, a cada R$200 em compras com seu Visa cadastrado, você tem a chance de ficar mais perto do sonho de assistir ao Super Bowl 59. E usando o seu cartão de débito, você ainda concorre a prêmios diários de até R$1.000. Não importa o tamanho do seu sonho, dê o primeiro passo. Visa, apoiando seus passos aonde você quiser chegar.
Não é tempo técnico, mas é intervalo aqui no podcast. Já imaginou se seu time tivesse um seguro para não perder nunca? Pois é, isso não existe. Mas com a Zurich Seguros, quem não perde nunca é você. Na Zurich Seguros, os planos se adequam às suas necessidades em qualquer momento da sua vida. Seja seguro de auto, residência, vida e muito mais. Diferente de alguns times, na Zurich Seguros você pode confiar. Para saber mais, acesse zurich.com.br ou consulte seu corretor.
I think the only concern that I have, and we normally have the panic not panic feature, so this will be a mini panic not panic, but is on defensively against Wake Forest. You had sort of if not for Liam Johnson making a really good play on that ball, I didn't have a ton of faith that we were necessarily going to hold this team out of we were going to hold Wake Forest out of the end zone in that situation. I thought, it wasn't like their offense wasn't spectacular, and I think that's even more concerning. And then it was obvious, as well as Hunter Barth had moments, there were also a lot of times where they were attacking his position at linebacker with Cade out. So where are you at on panic, not panic defensively, giving up, this point total to Wake Forest?
I mean, I'm going to play the optimism side of this argument. Okay. Just because we won, we want to feel good a little bit, I think the slow mesh was definitely a little bit more difficult for the team to adjust to than we expected it to. And then I think the big thing here is I don't think the point total is as high if we don't, if a couple things don't went our way. Noel slipping on that deep ball that resulted in the touchdown. I think in any other play he has that tackle, but he loses his footing right as the ball is caught and he's turning to catch the guy, and then his foot kind of slips out from under him, and then there's no cover on the backside. Okay, yeah, that stuff happens. So there's those types of moments. Also the stupid face call or face mask penalty on Mikey Matthews on the second punt recovery or the forced fumble recovery. by the team as well. Like, so there's moments that like I feel like we could have gone our way that probably make this game and the score a little bit more amicable and a lot more like, oh yeah, we dominated that game from beginning to end. But overall, yeah, I don't think if you have those concerns, I don't think it's unwarranted. I think there's definitely reasons for that. But yeah, that's what Avi said when we're after the game. He was like, I didn't think the slow mesh would be that much of an issue, but like it might have actually been a bigger issue than we're making it out to be. Because Hank Bachmeier is no Sam Hartman, but
Right.
he did run it pretty well.
It's so confusing to watch. It looks like a bad RPO.
Yeah, it does.
Every time I was watching, I'm like, are they just making the same mistake over and over again? But the one,
there's a couple plays we blew it up, right? There's a couple times we blew it up. But yeah. But overall, it doesn't. It looks like they're just standing there.
Yeah, it's a bizarre thing to see. I just think that I thought that offense scheme was supposed to play into the defense's strength at linebacker, and I would say that that's a big strength for us. But maybe you could make the case that DBs are. There are a couple of plays I think Craig got beat a couple of times. Like there are just some that I think we would want back. Forgot about that. It's ridiculous. Like I don't know how the audio was for you all, but even in my situation where I had perfect audio, there's zero explanation from anyone. Like not from the refs, not from the announcers, because the announcers were waiting for the refs, and all of a sudden Wake Forest just had the football with nobody said anything.
That was funny too because for me, I read it as they're gonna have the ball because the face mask penalty occurred before the fumble happened, and I was like, oh, it's their ball because they were saying like it's like a 15-yard penalty. If it was our ball, they would say it's a 15-yard penalty enforced from the end of the run, but they just said it's a 15-yard penalty. So I was like, oh, it's their ball. But Avi and Nam were like they were like just as confused as everyone else, and I was like, and then when they showed the replay, I was like, yeah, you see it happen before the forced fumble comes out. They're gonna call it.
I think Wilcox's point is that you can't assume possession. And so it wasn't so much to argue about the turnover, but shouldn't that call... I don't understand how that call is made on a turnover. Should it be a re-kick? Because, like, you know what I mean? You can't... How can you assume possession? They never had possession.
Oh, yeah. No, I think it's just a foul on kickoff, right? You give it to the... Like, if he roughed the like, let's say it's like he called for the fair catch and he tackled him, the ball came out, and we got it the other way. Like they're gonna still give it to the offense. They're not gonna. It's not gonna be a re-kick.
Yeah,
I guess you could have asked. I guess maybe there is a thing where you could ask for a re-kick for like with 15 yards backed up, but like, or you can just take the 15-yard penalty. I remember you're able to do that in Madden, at least. Like if there was a penalty on kickoff.
No, I think there's something there because Wilcox was furious. Like, and he was. It didn't seem like he was arguing about who should have the ball. I think what I thought I saw him saying was, you can't assume possession, and therefore, I don't know.
If that's what he's arguing, I think that's a very, very, very valid point. But I mean, look, if we're going to talk about Wilcox and penalties, we got to talk about his sideline interference.
You run us through that because I'm still confused. And I mean, the fact that we've seen 2 sideline interferences, like for those that don't remember, the infamous one against TCU in the Cheez-It Bowl.
That one was weird because that dude should not have been standing out there whatsoever. Right. That TCU guy should not have been out there. But this is Wilcox. Wilcox is like, he's allowed to be out there. And if you rewatch when they showed the all 22 and you see it to happen at the top of the screen on the 20-yard line, where it looks like Wilcox is looking up at the TV screen. He's like, because you know how the bench, you can go out to the 20-yard line, right? Like that's as far as you can like walk out to. So I think he's on that backside 20-yard line, and he's like, he does the Harbaugh thing where he's like hands on his knees and like looking up at the screen, watching the play develop. And then I don't think the ref that was running down the sideline like ran in a perfect straight line. So he kind of just ran into Wilcox. And then because he fell down, like I think he tossed it because he thought it was someone else. But then like he had already tossed the flag and he had fallen over. So I don't think they were going to pull that flag back. But like it was just a weird like situation where it doesn't need to be a penalty. Like you could just I think it's just like oh sorry, I didn't see you there. You know, like I also don't know how these refs don't fall over all the time now, knowing that, because they're looking at the play and the ball like on the screen, right, as they're running sideways. Like there's no guarantee you're running on the same plane that you're supposed to be running. Like I guarantee you there's some guys that are like slowly drifting inwards, you know, or slowly drifting outwards. But like,
you don't think they're just running perfect lines all the time in preparation for games, Rob?
Just like a grapevine down the sideline, and you just like have to stay on a rail. Like I don't know. I think it's a stupid penalty.
Yeah, but it
was
happens,
hilarious,
and it only seems to happen against us.
Who would have thought we'd get called for sideline interference for students throwing paper, and then also our head coach tripping a ref over?
It's so good.
The lore is so great this year. The lore is absolutely stellar this year. One more thing I wanted to ask you about, Andy. I know how you feel about backup kickers and special teams. Ryan Coe, 2 50-yarders. What were your impressions?
It was amazing. It was so good for him. I thought it was the right call. I was the one that was in the stands in the NC State game saying that Ryan Coe should have been kicking the game winner. It was like 27 yards. He wasn't going to miss that. And he's so experienced. Like, it was just my thought was, why are you throwing out this freshman walk on when you have literally somebody that has done this? Like, I get it. He's missed some easy ones. Those are like 40 yarders we're talking about. We're not talking about like 27 yarders. That's a gimme kick. And I think we would have won that game. So I'm actually really happy we went to that because he has such a good leg. Clearly has distance. The first one barely made it over, and the second one I think, good, could have been good for him a little bit further. And also it was like he had, what was so impressive about it was that it had like I'm not much of a golfer, but I think it was a hook where it kind of like hooked back perfectly, where it like starts off and it kind of hooks back in. But that's a huge, it was honestly the second one that went in. I was like, we're winning this game. Because it just was different from any that I think any of those situations earlier. I will say that I think Derek's kicked one from 50 and made it. I'm trying to think of the game. Was it Oregon State?
It might have been Oregon State. Yeah.
So I know he has the leg.
Goals. Yeah.
But it does feel like when you watch him, he doesn't quite have, like, the leg strength on Coe is just different. You could just tell. So, I mean, it was great. And you like see the reaction of the team, the reaction of Wilcox. It was an amazing moment. And that's what it's about. Like, being an athlete is knowing that you're going to have the down spells, and that when you're in the down spell, your coach is going to come up to you and put you in the same situation and expect you to deliver, and you have to be ready to deliver on it. And good for him, because he was and did, and it gives us a ton of flexibility now for the rest of the season. And I don't think it impacts either of them in a negative way. I think it's just a positive thing where it's like, cool, it's from distance, we'll put Cohen, and if it's 40 and in, we got the king of the two-step to who's been super accurate. So I look, any positive development in the kicking game front. I mean, it's hard to say that after the Oregon State game where we had like 5 field goals, but any positive special teams development anytime I will take happily, gladly, celebrate.
Love it.
All right.
But
we'll end on a positive note, and we're gonna skip we'll do some off-season Nando forecasting for next year. But this team is now, I think it's like 98% chance of going to a bowl game.
I think it was 93 before Wake Forest, and I think we're over 95 now.
Of the bowls that are available, where would you like to see us go?
So there's a couple of, we'll go into the math later because someone asked us a question for Golden Tweets, so not to spoil that. So I'm going to hold off on the math and where it goes. But having looked at the bowls that we would be eligible for, send me to Vegas. I'm looking at the calendar too, because like I personally, I'm just not a fan of early bowl games. Like, it only gives you 2 weeks to prep for, and I prefer if our team got 3 weeks or 4 weeks of extra practices instead of just 14 days. The LA Bowl is I think it feels too early. It's like the 16th. It's like a Wednesday during the week. Although, as much as I would like to go to SoFi and shoot on the field at SoFi, yeah. But
I think I'm rooting for that one. I think I want the Gronk Bowl.
The Gronk Bowl gets very, that makes it very interesting. I want Vegas. So here's my thing. Here's my reasoning of why I want Vegas. For us, for you and I, and for Nam and for Avi and some of our friends, Blue Wire Podcast has a podcast studio in Vegas. That's like glass windows, like it looks like a half open studio. We can rent it. We've had this dream. We've had this discussion. Yeah, we almost had it in 2020 if we went to Allegiant, except for a little nasty virus called COVID. So I want this to happen, and I want us to do like a 6-hour long live stream podcast of Cal football, where we have guests and people just flowing in and out of the studio, just coming and going. I've pitched it already to a couple of football staffers that I want to drop by, and they're all on board. So that is the potential dream that I have here.
Remind me when that game is again.
I believe it's 2 days after Christmas or the day after Christmas. It's like the 27th.
God, flights are gonna be outrageous.
I know. I mean, that was like us for the Cheez-It Bowl too.
Outrageous flights.
Outrageous.
Yes.
Yeah.
I might even, you know what? If you're building up, maybe I just book this flight right now on Southwest. Just have it.
Oh, just stash it away for now. Yeah. And then just cancel it if you need it.
Because I get all back. I already have a flight credit anyways from the one I just canceled. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I've been burned by this before. That's why I like the Gronk Bowl, because it's just like I could drive.
Yeah,
just go to LA.
Technically you could drive to Vegas too.
Yes,
technically.
But after having done that before and the 11 and a half hours that it took, I was like, I'm never doing this ever again in my entire life. Okay. I mean, but I will say it sounds like everybody's predicting us to go back. Do I say back? El Paso? Sun Bowl? Sun Bowl.
Sun Bowl is possible.
Seems like we're going to the Sun Bowl.
A lot of people think so. Yeah, there's a lot of bowls that play, but if it goes to El Paso, like I'm not going to El Paso. I already told Avi I'm not going to El Paso. Nam's already told Avi he's not going to El Paso. I'm not going to El Paso.
Kind of interested.
In El Paso, Texas for New Year's? You want to spend New Year's in El Paso, Texas?
Is it New Year's?
It's New Year's. I believe it's New Year's.
I can't do that.
Yeah, it's like the 30th, I think, or like the 29th. Yeah, I don't want to spend it in
Whoa. Okay. So, I mean, if it's not New Year's Eve, then I'm just saying the same way I felt about Auburn, and I missed that opportunity, and I was like, when will I ever have the chance to go to Alabama? Well,
no, Andy, you can't do this. You can't. I just looked it up. The Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl 2024, the 91st Sun Bowl, December 31st, 2024. So yeah, when Avi said, why would you not want to spend New Year's in El Paso? He meant it literally.
Yeah.
Also,
Damn it. Where do you even
the
fly
reason
into?
the reason I don't think we'll go to the Sun Bowl is because I know it's later in the rankings, but it's a bowl tie-in with the ACC and the Pac-12.
Right. Oh, that's why people were saying, because they might choose to have a Big Ten team or somebody.
I feel like some other
Right.
team, some other bowl above the Sun Bowl will probably take us before we get down to the Sun Bowl.
Dude, where
But yeah,
do
we
you
can talk about
fly
that in Golden
into?
Tweets.
Phoenix, and then do you drive? Do you fly
I
into
guess so, yeah.
Albuquerque and drive?
I'm not doing this. So once
What?
again, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to El Paso.
White Sands National Park. Seems like it's close by.
Alamo Bowl,
4.8 stars.
Alamo Bowl, you can kind of convince me. You can kind of convince me to go to San Antonio, but no, I'm not going to El Paso.
Yeah, San Antonio would be cool.
Yeah.
If there's a national forest tint in here, I could do it. Okay. All right. Moving on. Players of the game.
Offense.
I'll go first. I'll give both of mine.
Okay. Who you got?
Tobias Merriweather.
Mm-hmm.
Who to defensively?
There's so many. So many.
There are so many. You know who? I never say his first name right. Falls.
Check Fall.
Check Falls. I thought he played great. He had a couple pressures in there that I don't think showed up on the stat sheet, but
2
when the
QB
game
hurries.
was on the line, he showed up when it mattered most, and he was getting pressure that I wish David Reese was getting. I know he had 2 sacks. He also David Reese
He's had
had
2 balls.
He had a really good game, and I was like, oh man, please let us get the David Reese that closed last season right now.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, either one of those guys. So, sort of I think there's some more obvious picks, but I think Tobias gets it for being. I mean, obviously Fernando's the player of the game, right? So we probably both aren't choosing him, but he's the player of the game. But I think that Tobias opens up so much for this offense going forward. You could just really tell, and I'm with you on the long-term vision for what this team could be with the new element added to it. And his presence was very much felt, and I didn't even expect Keon to be back. So this was also a nice little surprise.
Me neither. My picks offensively, I think it's Mikey Matthews. I predicted Mikey would have a big game this week if Tobias was able to go. That's exactly what happened. 100% catch percentage and a touchdown, 83 yards. Defensively, there's a lot of guys to go from, but I mean, I'm just gonna have to pick Hunter Barth. I think he filled in very, very well once Cade went down, and he affected the game, like as Wilcox said in his presser, affected the game in like multiple stages. Affected him in the special teams game, also on defense, and came up with some huge plays. So that's my guy.
Love it.
Is that a wrap? Are we done?
It's a wrap. We got Syracuse next week, 12 p.m. kickoff on the CW.
Right
wait.
after the Cal game, you can watch The Flash.
Don't even know what that is.
I don't think that show is there anymore. It's like a superhero show. CW's like known for their superhero shows. Like they're known for like The Flash, Green Arrow. I think they're doing Lois and Clark right now.
Dawson's Creek.
Yeah. Was Dawson's Creek CW?
Dude, I don't know.
One Tree Hill was One Tree Hill CW.
The amount of times that I've watched CW. Who knows? I've heard they have good ACC coverage. We may be on there one day. All right. Yes. Wrap us up, Rob. Take us home.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for us here on the Golden Bearcast. And as always, you can follow us on Twitter at Golden Bearcast. You can email us goldenbearcast@gmail.com. If you're listening to us, you know where to find us on all podcast networks. And you can find all the written stuff over at writeforcalifornia.com. Syracuse 12 on the CW, followed by the big game the week after, which was just announced for 12:30 on ACC Network. So we'll see you for the next 2 games at home, Cal fans. And as always, go Bears.
Go Bears.